vast majority of our life's experience, if ever. But as counterintuitive as it may feel to dive deeper into your fear, it is actually the key to understanding and transcending that fear. Fear actually holds no power when faced with courage and bravery. Fear has power when it feeds on itself over and over cyclically. I don't know if you've ever watched the movie After Earth, but Jaden Smith and Will Smith play together as a father-son duo, and they've crashed on planet Earth in some future time where it's now become this corrupt, scary place full of monsters, and there are these particular predatory monsters that find and kill their prey when they sense their fear. And the most powerful warriors, the ones who became invisible to these predators, are the ones who faced their fears head on, to the point and practicing that powerful energy enough that they were able to defeat these monstrous, huge predators because they couldn't see them. They couldn't sense where they were. So they had the upper hand, metaphorically and physically speaking, even though they were much smaller and much more vulnerable. Courage is not being fearless. Courage is facing fear bravely. It's stepping into vulnerability and truth and authentic expression from your heart space bravely. It is stepping into the arena of our fear, looking it in the eye and saying, I can see you, I can hear you, everything that you're telling me in here, and I see where you're coming from, and I see why you speak so loudly, because you know that you don't have any power when I remember mine. And that's what makes you afraid. And you need my fear to keep your own power intact. And it's actually the same thing that we experience with other human beings who are living in a perpetual state of fear as well. The most controlling, manipulative, gaslighting, invalidating, rejecting people in society, and a lot of the leaders in society right now are the most insecure people, full of their own fear and unwilling to face it with bravery, with courage, and with vulnerability. And they go into masking and controlling and avoiding and withdrawing and playing manipulative games with people and projecting those fears onto others. And innately, humans actually have a natural startle response. I'm sure you've seen a lot of those funnier videos where someone will scream and be startled at nothing, just to see if their partner will also be freaked out, and they always are. We have a natural startle response, and it's instinctual, and it's a really good mechanism. It's a really good mechanism for survival to respond before you see what the threat is if someone else is seeing a threat. But that can be used and abused when taken advantage of by those who are living in fear and unwilling to do the work to uncover facing that fear and knowing that they actually have their own power to overcome it if they knew how to use it. So they try to manipulate others and also make them feel fear, projecting their fear onto others, gaslighting others, invalidating others' experiences, all in the name of protecting their own fragile psyches and their own insecurities that they've never even taken a look at. Narcissists are actually born out of trauma the majority of the time. People tend to go one of two ways when they are exposed to trauma early on, and it depends what kind and the severity of the trauma that they experience. But they will either go the narcissistic route or the empathic route. They will either become those who fight to become nothing like their abusers, or they become darker versions of their abusers. And if we can recognize that as painful as a narcissist's behavior is, and I know because I come from a lot of experiences with that particular dissension of depravity that the human psyche can succumb to. If we can see where they're coming from without continuing to engage in their poor behavior, you will be taken advantage of over and over and over again unless you step outside of that environment long enough to clearly see truth, to clearly face and confront your own fears head on and build your own strength again over time, to the point where you will no longer be emotionally reactive to that other person, which is what they're banking on. If they can get you to be emotionally reactive and responsive, they will flip the script, and that's how they work, right? That's how the psyche of a narcissist's brain works, is they will flip the script to pin it back on you that you're crazy, that you're overly emotional, that you're overly sensitive, that you're blowing things out of proportion, and they will get ultra calm in that moment because it's actually regulating to their nervous system when you inadvertently take on what they're feeling on the inside. Then they become calm. They become regulated in this sort of twisted, darker way. But if we can start to see that for the sickness and the sadness and the despair that it really is, even if they never change, and even if you have to maintain that distance from that person and that toxicity forever in this lifetime, seeing them and their heart and their experiences with compassion and an understanding that it may be more than just environments, it may also be their genetic codes that they're carrying from previous generations of dysfunction. I think it will do a lot more for your healing to still see them as a person when and as you've processed all of the pain and all of the real effects that their behavior has had on you. Just food for thought, because there are different points in everybody's process, very different points. all go through in our processes to overcome what we've experienced in our journey in life thus far. But the freedom that you will experience by continuing to hold boundaries and also see other people as people and see the true grief of the nuance of the situation and the paradox of the situation, opening our hearts to the realities that we may not understand about someone else's situation, does not give license, does not condone behavior, but it does free your soul and liberate your soul to see multiple truths at once and to hold multiple truths at once, and expanding your nervous system's capacity to hear that and to see that and to respond to that expands your own consciousness to the point that you will be able to speak up for those in need, for those who are in despair, and for those who are